Two of the top freshmen in the country go head-to-head as year two of the Pat Kelsey era begins.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Friday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my sixth year covering U of L, fourth year hosting this show. And I want to take the time to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services, 5 days a week, your team every day. Now, don't forget to leave a comment in the YouTube section below, because as you all know, that's a great way to help the show continue to grow. It is much appreciated. Year two of the Pat Kelsey era begins tonight for the Louisville Cardinals as they host the 19th ranked Kansas Jayhawks in exhibition play. Two of the top freshmen will go head-to-head. Mikel Brown Jr. and Darryn Peterson will discuss other things that I'm watching for on Friday evening. We will then switch over to football. Louisville looking to continue that momentum and eliminate the historic trap game following a statement victory. Boston College coming to town. We will identify the keys to success for Jeff Brohm's team against the Eagles on Saturday night. A lot of stuff to get into on the show today. But first, this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Gosh, it feels like it's been an eternity since Louisville's season ended last year to Creighton. Pat Kelsey and company did a brilliant job of constructing this roster. The expectations are sky high. The vibes are just as high. I'm excited to get year two underway, and it will begin tonight. First exhibition game of the season. Number 19, Kansas, comes to town to play in the KFC Yum Center against number 11, Louisville. If you're unable to make it to that game, 7:30 on the ACC network to be able to watch that on national TV. So early exhibition game, you don't want to get too high. You don't want to get too low. Like if you win, that's great, but don't get too high. If you lose, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Don't let it ruin your night, because it's still very early, so don't get too low. Now, of course, you would rather Louisville be dominant tonight and win the game, because much easier to talk about it in that fashion. Now, I will say that historically, the results of some of these exhibition games haven't gone on to serve as foreshadowing for what's to come, because like I said, I mean, you have, especially in today's world with the transfer portal era, you have a new team, so it's going to take time to gel. It's going to take different amounts of time for certain teams to gel versus others. Louisville's not going to be at full strength as Kason Pryor works his way back from that ACL surgery. Probably going to be a couple games before he's able to play 100% with no minutes restriction. So it's just awesome to be able to play a good team right out of the gate, because you get a glimpse of, okay, what's going good? What do you need to work on? It's a marathon, not a sprint. I was about to say it's a sprint, not a marathon. That's 100% not true, because you don't want to peak in November. You want to continually get better as you go through the season. And I think that the number one thing that I'm watching for in this game is the star freshman battle between Mikel Brown Jr. and Darryn Peterson. They were rivals on the prep circuit. Of course, Darryn Peterson, a part of that quote-unquote big three of the class of 2025, along with A.J. Devanza and Cameron Boozer. Now, Mikel Brown Jr. did a great job of throwing his name into that conversation throughout the spring. He was great at the McDonald's All-American Camp, the Nike Hoop Summit with the USA team, you name it. He was fantastic when 2025 began, but all eyes are going to be on this matchup. I mean, everyone is waiting for college basketball to come back, and what better way to watch than two ranked teams, or what better, situation to watch than two ranked teams, not to mention two that are led by star freshmen. Now, they technically play different positions on paper, but don't get it twisted. Mikel and Darryn are going to be handling the basketball for their respective teams, probably more so Darryn than Mikel, because Darryn, I think, will have to be the heartbeat of that team as for Mikel, he's not going to have to be the star. Now, I think Kansas is a little bit underrated. This might not be a vintage Bill Self team, but I think that there's a ton of talent on this squad. I'm interested to see if Mikel and Darryn are going to guard each other. But hey, early opportunity to see two of the top freshmen go at it, and we'll see who ends up playing better on Friday evening. My personal predicted starting lineup for Friday night for the Kansas Jayhawks would be Darryn Peterson, who he's a phenom, guys. Let me just go ahead and say that. I personally think, and I have thought this for over a year, that he is the number one player in the class. Like, I am a huge believer in his game, but I think that Cole Rosario is going to start in the backcourt, freshman that reclassified into the 2025 class, and he has surprised everyone in Lawrence, and he is primed to have a breakout freshman season. So it's a young backcourt, but very, very talented. And then you factor in a true sophomore in Flory Badunga, who was going to, I think he entered the transfer portal and took his name out. And he is going to be a test for this Cardinals front court. More on that here in a second, but potential is sky high for him. And then I have personally two transfers. An old familiar friend, Trey White. Yes, that Trey White that played for Louisville in the Kenny Payne era. This is his fourth team in 4 seasons, and he will be in Lawrence this season after playing at Illinois last year. I think he's going to be a serviceable 3-and-D wing, and you could go a couple different ways, but I'm going to say Melvin Council Jr. gets the start. 6'4" guard forward combo, played at St. Bonaventure, do-it-all guy, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists per game. I think he's going to be a high-volume scoring guy for Kansas. Now, regardless if he starts or not, he's going to play a ton. You also have Jaden Dawson, 37% career three-point shooter from Loyola Chicago, double-digit scorer. Elmarco Jackson, redshirt sophomore, coming off of a season-ending injury before the year last year. And then going down the line, you have more youth. Bryson Tiller. You have, I think it's Samus Calderon. Forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly. You have redshirt sophomore Jamari McDowell and some other players. So it's a young team, but I think it's a Kansas team that's going to build their identity on that grittiness, that toughness, that nobody's going to outwork me mentality. So, and that's going to show in the front court with Flory Badunga, who I think is going to be a challenge, early challenge for this Louisville front court. That's the second thing that I'm watching for. How is Louisville going to attack the glass? How is their interior defense going to look as a collective unit? Of course, Case Pryor, I don't think he's going to play in this game. If he does, it's going to be very, very sparingly. But you have Ali Khalifa, Vangelis Zugris, Sananda Frew. The list goes on. Javon Hadley, Kenai Roots, guys that are going to play in the front court. How are they going to rebound the basketball against a Kansas team that's extremely strong and athletic? And how are they going to play against Flory Badunga, whose offensive game is still growing, but extremely solid and effective in pick and roll situations? He's also great cleaning up around the basket. The third thing that I'm looking at, it's early on in the season, so you can't take conclusive things away, but I want to see what the rotations look like at guard. Does Louisville start out right away with the 3-guard lineups, or do they start with your traditional 2 guards, a wing, and 2 guys in the front court, and then move to that 3-guard lineup? And if so, who will be the 2 starting? I would imagine it's probably Mikel and Ryan Conwell, with Isaac McNeely and Adrian Woolley coming off the bench. If 3 of them start, I would say that McNeely would get the nod, with Woolley as that Tahad Pettiford surge off the bench 6-man role. But we'll see how it goes, especially with no Case Pryor, or if you do see Case Pryor, he's not going to be starting. I want to see what the rotations look like, because we'll have a better idea. Now, things are going to change throughout the non-conference slate. Understand that. So what you see tonight isn't going to be what you're going to see on December 24th versus October 24th. But it's going to give you a good idea of where Pat Kelsey, where his head is at, right, for the rotations, what it's going to look like. So I'm really excited to get our first glimpse of the Cardinals in year 2 under Pat Kelsey's year 2 in Pat Kelsey's career. 7:30 tip-off, Louisville versus Kansas on the ACC network. But the Cardinal football team is back in action on Saturday for a rare night game in conference play, and they are looking to eliminate the historical trap game that has immediately followed the statement victory against the Boston College Eagles. And I think that they are going to reverse the curse on Saturday. We'll explain why. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward was TJ Caper's interception, shoestring catch that won the game for the Louisville Cardinals on the final drive against the number 2 ranked Miami Hurricanes. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Card Nation, thanks again for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services, including YouTube and now TikTok, 5 days a week. Your team every day. I guess since we are switching to football talk, let me try to go ahead and switch the virtual background over to Cardinal Stadium. Hopefully, Rocco Gasparo and the Louisville athletic staff don't mind me recording a pregame episode the day before the game. Gosh, that's so corny, man. My apologies, Card Nation. Forgive me for that corny joke. But Louisville's looking to do a first, something that they haven't done in the past 2 seasons under Jeff Brohm, and that is continue the momentum after a huge win. In 2023, they beat Notre Dame at Cardinal Stadium, top 10 Irish team, and they followed it up with an inexcusable loss to Pittsburgh. 2024, they got their first win against Clemson as a member of the ACC. They went to Death Valley Jr. and defeated a ranked Tigers team, and immediately after was an inexcusable loss to Stanford. Well, deja vu is presenting an opportunity once again in year 3 under Jeff Brohm. Of course, the largest win to date in his career at Louisville, arguably the biggest regular season win in program history, last Friday night when Louisville upset number 2 Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. First top 10 road win for the Louisville Cardinals in the regular season. Now it's eerily similar vibes because you go into Saturday as a 25.5-point favorite over the Boston College Eagles. Now, I think the curse gets reversed this year, and for a couple of reasons. I'm going to start out first, and this might not make any sense to anyone but me. And tell me what you all think about this, but I think that the night game works in the favor for the Louisville Cardinals. Here's what I mean. You know, those noon games, early games where the crowd's really, it's hit or miss, might not necessarily be all the way into it. I think that can kind of mess with the team's mental a little bit, especially if you're coming off of the high from last week and you go against a team to where you're supposed to win. You play at noon, whatever. I feel like there's more of an opportunity for you, or maybe likelihood that you overlook that game. Just from a general standpoint. I'm not like specifically talking about this team, but now you have a night game where the hype is building all day. And for Louisville fans who don't really witness their team play conference games at home at night, I think it's going to be a good opportunity for more people to file in to Cardinal Stadium. I think that the crowd is going to be more energetic, or at least I'm hopeful that that's the case. And I have this weird thought that it's just a gut feeling. Nothing really to back it up outside of just vibes. But I think that a night game makes the Louisville program more hyped. Like, it makes the fan base more hyped. And maybe I'm just completely off with this. And maybe it sounds stupid. I really don't care. It's kind of how I feel, that I think that Louisville is going to play better because, hey, you've got that night game atmosphere. And the night games, I feel like, you're giving more attention to those noon games anyway. So I think that that's the first thing. Now, looking at this from like a legit tangible sense, this Boston College team, they're just not good. There's no other way to say it. They're 1-6, 0-4 in conference play. They won the first game against Fordham, and now they're on a 6-game losing streak. A free fall is, I think, not even telling the full tale. Now, there are a couple inopportune, not ideal plays away from being like 4-3, but still looking at the results. Michigan State, they possibly should have won. It was 42-40. And then Cal was 28-24. Outside of that, all double-digit losses. 10 points at Stanford. 48-7 at Pittsburgh. 41-10 at home against Clemson. 38-23 at home against Connecticut. This is a team that's banged up, especially on defense. They have some quarterback issues. They're trying out Grayson James again, who stepped in. He stepped in when Dylan Lonergan got benched. Boston College can't run the football. Like, everything that could go wrong is seemingly going wrong. And AJ Black, host of Locked On Boston College, mentioned on yesterday's crossover show something that I didn't think about. They brought in 17 transfers, and seemingly none of them are playing key roles. Like, I don't know if it was a scouting issue, if it was an NIL budget issue, but for whatever reason, Boston College just has not been able to translate the transfer portal haul to on-the-field success. So I think that maybe the difference, and I know that Pittsburgh team wasn't great, and maybe it's a prisoner of the moment, like revisionist history, but going into the Pittsburgh game, it seems like everything went wrong. It was a monsoon. Guys got rattled because of a pregame injury to Renato Brown. Jawar Jordan got hurt going into this game, and he barely played. Louisville built up a big lead, and then they just let Stanford back in. There's so many things that go into this, but the truth is, I feel like of the three teams, 2023 Pittsburgh, 2024 Stanford, and 2025 Boston College, this Boston College team is the worst of those three. Something else that I'll say that encourages me is the perseverance of this team. Like, it seems like with the transfer portal era, there's a larger fear of teams just giving up and not playing for one another because it's a relatively new roster every year. You haven't built that bond that has withstood many years of adversity and going out on the field and fighting for each other. But you can just tell by the way that this team has shown it on the field, predominantly playing their best football in the fourth quarter. You see the emotion on the sideline. Miller Moss is emotional after the win against Miami. The team is, of course, focused, but you can just tell by their body language and demeanor that it feels like a tight-knit group. And I think that that's going to also bode well, is even when adversity strikes, this Louisville team is good about bouncing back. James Madison, fourth quarter is up for grabs. Louisville separated themselves. Pittsburgh, down 17-0, and then down 10 points going into the second half. Miami, when Isaac Brown fumbled the football, what did they do? They bent but didn't break. They picked their guy up, right? Say, hey, look, it was a mistake, but we got you. Don't worry about it. Louisville bent but didn't break, and they continually made plays. So I think all this works together. And in terms of avoiding a trap game, I hate to say, but it's about handling business, and that sounds super, super cliche, but what else do you say for a team that's favored to win by 25.5 points? Like, don't overlook how large of a spread that is. And I know Boston College hasn't been good, but that is a pretty significant spread for a conference game. So what else can you suggest outside of, hey, let's see Louisville put it together. Let's see them, I think, continue that consistency. I loved what I saw from Louisville for the most part last week against Miami. Do it again. Show that it wasn't just a one-game wonder and you got up for the top team on your schedule, but you can keep that same level of play regardless of the competition. Like, you're not playing down to the level of your opponent, because with 6 games remaining in the season and you possibly are going to be favored to win all 6 of them, playing down to your opponent isn't what you want to see if you're a Louisville fan. So I feel good about Saturday night instinctively. I mean, I felt good against Pittsburgh and Stanford too, for the record, but there's like a different vibe with this game, and I don't really know how to explain it outside of just describing the vibes. So when we come back, let's discuss the keys to success against Boston College. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For the Louisville Cardinals, Chris Bell delivered in a huge way. He was unguardable all night, found the end zone twice, once in the fourth quarter, and he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, you know that this performance wasn't a fluke from wide receiver 1. Just like Chris Bell delivered for the Cardinals, DoorDash Streaks delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits ordered this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period is good through November 18th. And while I have you, let's tell you about our title sponsor of the show, FanDuel. Louisville is currently a 25.5-point favorite over the Boston College Eagles right now. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Whether it's building parlays, trying player props, or even following the live lines during the game, there's so many fun ways to play. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Thanks for making Locked On Louisville part of your daily routine all week long. Of course, we will be back next week to break down this weekend's action, Louisville's exhibition game against Kansas on the men's basketball side, and the Boston College game on the football side. But we're not done yet. Let's talk keys to success against Boston College. I wrapped up last segment by saying that Louisville needed to handle business. I think that one of the main things for the Cardinals offense in this game is they can't allow Boston College to succeed in doing things that they haven't succeeded at all season long. And that sounds kind of like generic, but we'll break it down a little bit. Boston College at this point is 100 and I think it's 34th in the country in stops. That means drives that have resulted in a punt, turnover on downs, or a turnover. Simply put, Boston College has not done a good job at stopping their opponents from scoring. For the Louisville Cardinals, it's about completing drives, getting into the red zone, and putting points on the board. I don't think that this Boston College offense is designed and constructed to be able to win a shootout level game. Here's another thing. Boston College's defense is extremely banged up all across the board. Now, even healthy, they struggle. But a Boston College defense that does not get pressure to the quarterback even early on in the season when they tried to bring pressure in multiple different ways, they weren't able to get in to the opposing backfield. They're also 116th in the country with a -5 turnover margin. They have not been able to turn their opponents over. So instinctively, we're going to highlight some past issues. If you play like you did against Miami on Friday, where you kept the ball relatively safe and out of harm's way, there were a couple throws where Miller Moss could have created turnovers, but he didn't. 2 touchdowns, no picks, no turnovers for the Cardinals. I'm sorry, there was one turnover. There was the Isaac Brown fumble in the fourth quarter. If Louisville doesn't gift Boston College the football, it's likely that Boston College isn't going to force Louisville to turn the ball over, if that makes sense. Like, you can't just drop the ball with no one around. You can't just throw right to the opposing team's player. Also, If you can protect Miller Moss in this game, I mean, the passing attack is a huge advantage. They can't guard Chris Bell. They can't guard Colin Lacey. If Miller Moss is able to get the ball out to them in space, good things are going to happen. Good things happen when you did so against Pittsburgh and Virginia and Miami, and it's going to follow suit against Boston College. So I think that it's not beating yourself. Getting off to an early start to where Boston College has to play from behind because this is a one-dimensional offense. Boston College has one of the worst rushing attacks in the country, 128th in the country. They average just over 100 yards per game, 100.1. Now, they are playing a more mobile quarterback this week with Grayson James, and I think that that is a key to success for the defense is keeping this offense one-dimensional. We haven't seen an opposing quarterback make the Cardinals defense pay this season on the ground. Drew Pine had some plays. I want to say Eli Holstein did have a couple, but Chandler Morris, not much. Carson Beck, not much. If you make it to where Grayson James isn't able to scramble when Louisville gets pressure, you're going to have a ton of success. I would imagine you're going to see RPOs and some designed runs for Grayson James just to try to get some chunky yardage against Ron English's unit. And I have full confidence that the Louisville defense is going to get Boston College in third and long situations. Because if you make them throw the football in those third and long situations and you can pin your ears back and rush the passer, I mean, Boston College's offensive line hasn't been great. And you have one of the best pass rushes in the ACC, and now all of a sudden you're playing to the Cardinals' strengths. So I think for Louisville, it's just a long and complex way of suggesting that if we play to the level that we know that we can, I don't see this being a game. I think that Louisville can pull off a big-time blowout, but it's going to come with those things that we just talked about. Don't turn the ball over. Don't hurt yourself with penalties. Don't give Boston College big plays on offense, and don't allow Boston College to stay in the game throughout the game, right? If you start out fast, you put points on the board, you get Boston College's offense off the field. I mean, I feel kind of dumb for explaining it like this because I feel like you can make the case every single week that you have to do this, but hey, this is one of those games. 25.5-point spread. The game isn't played on paper, though. The game is played on grass. We saw this last week against Miami. So if you're able to keep the utmost focus this weekend like you did last weekend and keep Boston College off balance and out-coach Bill O'Brien, I don't really see there being an issue. So I look for this to be a huge offensive performance. I think it's going to be a great day at the office for Miller Moss, for Chris Bell. I would like to see Louisville's rushing attack continually improve, right? Last week was probably the most impressive that they've been. Isaac Brown forced, I think, 16 missed tackles, which is insane, assuming he keeps getting healthier. This is recorded at, Thursday evening before the injury report release, so we'll see on Duke Watson, Keywan Brown as well. But if Louisville is effective running the ball against a respectable but pedestrian defense when it comes to defending the run, I think that, hey, it could be a huge, huge scoring night for the Louisville Cardinals. But that is going to wrap up this Friday edition of the show. Great weekend for Cardinal sports. First weekend where basketball and football coexist at the same time, and there's no better time to be a sports fan than right now. But everyone have a great weekend. Be sure to get out to the Yum, get out to Cardinal Stadium, and we'll see you back here at the beginning of next week. Go Cards.